Daily trading recap. Let's get into it on this Monday, the 20th of December, 2021, coming in on this 4-day week because we got Christmas Eve at the end of this week, of course, and assuming that that's shown by the dollar volume here. Let's just get into that quick. NASDAQ, we're showing as of hour after the close here, $181 billion volume. NYSE, $281 billion volume. OTC's $2 billion volume. So seeing a little bit of drop off in small cappers especially, but opportunity and volatility is always still going to be there whenever the market's open. Markets themselves by seeing a little bit of a gap down from that Sunday futures open, and maybe we see a little bit of a bounce here. I know Chris was trying to trade that on a more market side scale thesis, but gosh, that's going to be a very quick recovery if that's going to be a nice little dip opportunity to see here. And just the volume for me, in my opinion, wasn't there enough to suggest that we see a move higher. So maybe we do get a little gap up tomorrow. Maybe we do retrace a little bit, maybe 458, 460-ish at most, with some good volume. But man, that'd be super, super quick. But crazier things have happened. It's certainly going to need a lot more volume, and that's, I think, the key factor that's just missing in my head, because I know everybody and their grandma, or at least everybody and their grandma who owns yachts, they're already on their yachts and flying to the Caribbean right now for the holiday weekend. So that's kind of my thesis on that one. But for trading for me today, just still very lackluster, and this is why I am still in this mode of paper trading, and then for shorts, and then still just through the cash account, still just very, very small size on my longs, and just 1 for 5 today. The grades that I gave myself for the ideas on the trade themselves, just very lackluster and not where I want to be. And it's not like I can blame it on it's just not your market, right? It's just the patterns that you feel best or most comfortable with or most slam dunk on are just not there. And yeah, I can give some of that, but I view that even more of as an excuse to say, of course, I'm not going to be able to collect money from the market every single day, but that is the ultimate goal, right? And everybody, there's somebody in the world doing that at some point every single day. And that's the understanding of how they do it. What do they predict? Why were they in it for that day? And continuing to grow that experience and knowledge P&L bank more and more every single day too is what I feel is going to be the driving factor for me going forward. And it's why I'm pushing so hard right now, especially on this paper, and just very, very small position size on all of these trades. And not really, especially today, not even factoring in position sizing, a risk of that position size on my account size total. And everything that I'm doing now is just focused solely on the trades, trying to eliminate as much of the barriers and noise and stupidity that I can, because right now still I'm not trading really how I should be. I'm just not. I'm selling the bottom and I'm buying the tops. It's just kind of wonky that way. I have some good opportunities here and there that come and shine through, but it is still sorting through just a pile of manure every single day and continuing to rotate my head and say, okay, wow, that was incorrect thesis. That was improper handling of that trade. Okay, and that's how we adjust, or that was even improper trade idea going into the trade beforehand. We got to adjust. How do we radically change what we were thinking going beforehand? So I'm totally still excited and empowered by everything I'm doing here, of the preparation I'm doing, and how it appeases me mentally and allows me to be able to see that more unemotionally and take just the feel of it out of the equation and just say, okay, wow, here we are today. Terrible trade ideas. You can't put it on it's just because the market wasn't good today. Well, then I shouldn't have been trading. If that was the true case, then so that's where I'm at. It was a good little side note here that I wrote from Jack number 2 that posted in the chat that I'll get into on a few of these stocks today that I just wanted to mention for myself too. It's just why waste, for how choppy and how stupid these first green day moves can be, the huge percentage movers can be, the pre-market big percentage movers can be at times. The multi-day holds, the multi-day moves can be very prudential and much more recognizable and easy to be a part of than just those first green day moves that, yeah, you can get a scalp here and there, but the mental capital required to be able to sit through that and see it and then not touch it again, or just not even want to be intrigued by it anymore for the day. It's just so much wasted mental capital that it is almost better to save that for the next few days moves and play a more probable pattern. That's where my mind's at right now. Oh gosh, let's get into it. Starting off on CANF, we did all the housekeeping. First off, just terrible. I'll start off with idea for me on this trade today. Terrible. It's an F. Execution wise, I can give myself a C. I'll get into that a little bit, but just start off. First green day mover, 20 million floater, which we rotated by 8:45 a.m. right in this little time frame here. American Biotech, they had news catalyst of a phase 2, something to do with cancer. Daily is downtrending, which I would normally like to see on that morning dump pattern that I talked about of shorting these things. If they were able to produce a failure to maintain VWAP type of price action here after that initial spike, then I would be interested in potentially getting short, just looking for the overhead to potentially continue riding that thing down. They do have like a $100 million shelf from October and a few million warrants of shares, but nothing beyond what was traded today or that today's volume could have not handled that way. But just, yeah, this is a tough one and weird one too because of how it rode right into market open. I think that disrupts a little bit of the potential consolidation and establishing of both sides of the equation to say we're getting longs in here or we're getting shorts to establish in earlier at these tops here. But as it kind of, pre-ejaculates is the word I want to use, just right before market open, it dissolves some of those barriers and the boundary lines. And then I think it loses some of the attention of it because people are already tired of it or exhausted of it or stopped out and just kind of frustrated already. And that's not the sense of emotion of enriching people to get in the market more. It's just kind of frustration and annoyance of just like, okay, well, stop me out. Because that's exactly what I would used to do too, especially of even getting 2 or 3 times in and out, in and out, in and out. That is definitely enough to say, okay, I'm done with you. And not even just like done with that stock, but like going away from the computer entirely, going to do something else, or not even like going to look at other stocks, but just like leaving the computer completely. So at times you can get a nice price to movement, but from a market maker's perspective, I'm kind of saying all of this, that it is that little fine line of what's the straw that breaks the camel's back, of what allows this snake of a market to get more food and what really dissuades a lot of more food being placed on that chart for the snake to go slither up to grab. Different kind of perspective that I always try to force myself in on that. But anyway, kind of looking for, call it a little dip and rip pattern. We get this fake out, and I was able to record level 2 time and sales on this one today too, which was a nice little review. But again, just so choppy to be a part of. And you can kind of read into what signs are there of like, oh, that's a big bidder there, or oh, that was a nice little print, and we're getting nice block prints on the time and sales there, for kind of making, like, reading the tea leaves and drawing whatever signs there to say, oh, well, this was a nice little 10% move here within this 3-minute candle, and then you can play the short side even on that too as it pulls back. But how probable, how many times that happens? Again, a repeatable, predictable pattern on that, highly doubtful to me. But anyway, kind of playing this dip and rip pattern off of this low here and VWAP as well. This first entry was a little chasey, just kind of respecting, okay, if we do just bounce very quickly here for how more quickly this little sell-off was, and we do put in a little bit higher low for market hours at least, and still kind of bouncing off VWAP, the same thing too. If it just started to retrace nicely, and then we put in a little higher base above 2.4-ish, then it, kind of protecting, not even protecting the FOMO, but just kind of protecting the potential of this thing to start going crazy screwy right from the get-go. But we do get a little pullback. It still maintains right around this 2.3 area. I'm able to get a 2.3 fill with another size shares, again, just super 2, 3, 4, 5 shares that I'm trading in this. Looking for that dip, and it actually tries to break below VWAP, but still maintains this low of this candle here. Tries to ride higher, looking for the breakout, and then just gets slammed. Meanwhile, the whole time I'm in this one, I am totally aware and ready to be holding through a low of day. That is, I know with certainty that is the obvious risk level. How many times have I got freaking stopped out doing that? And I know Chris is saying thing too. There's how frustrating that is. Of everybody and their grandma knows the risk level as a long on this, trying to trade a dip and rip into the kind of perfect time frame here that it rejects that pattern of 945. Your risk is low of day, and everybody is cutting here, and that's where this volume and big splash comes from. But for me to say I don't want to be a part of that anymore, I'm just sick of following along with the party when we're all wrong in the same case. So I was totally ready and willing to let this thing just dump and open myself up to see, just have that free mental space to be able to see what's happening on time and sales and level 2, versus when I would normally just be like trying to push a button as quickly as I possibly can, or just letting didn't my stop get filled? Oh, it'll look freaking that way. Just let it tank through. And I was totally ready for this thing to do it. I kind of visualized it before it happened, of this thing's about to tank. It could get slapped pretty hard here. And it did. And then tried to double down again as I thought another little bottom was being put in around 2.2-ish area here. But the bid support didn't follow through for a quick reversal. For the times that we've seen these fake outs that for whatever reason or how they can just manipulate that so easy that they just come so quick and just grab all those stops for the longs trying to play this one and then reel in all the shorts looking to play the downside off that move and then just smack them back to the upside and just wishy-washy Willy Wonka this chart all across the table. And you just have a mess of price action to try and read from. But picking through and fine-tuning the combs of that, it's kind of repeatable, seeable patterns to identify from that to say, like, this is where all the stops are. I know that's where they're going to be, and that's where the volume was today. I'm going to hold through that. And I think we could see a little quick reversal here above that because of that same reason. And the volume it was producing today, we're looking at, let's see what we produced today on CANF. $367 million volume in the day, 400,000 trades is very nice to see. It could have happened, but it just was not in the works today. And yeah, I saying all that, of course, and not having a winning trade on that. I was definitely wrong on that, but yeah, F idea, great for me because it just did not do anything of what I wanted to see. It did end up eventually, still holding that little bottom low of VWAP and then eventually reclaiming to the upside there, but still even that it failed above 2.5 and came right back down, just traded sideways the whole rest of the day. Just stupidity. And C grade, I gave myself for execution because of, was able to start in with this little 2-3 low here. I did follow along according to my plan of knowing that I wanted to be in this as it broke low of day just to give it that opportunity. That I felt that was the risk tolerance I needed in order to trade this one today. But even still at that, just did not happen. The idea did not come to fruition even through that as well too. But still cutting losses quickly, just recognizing when this is a loser, it's just stupid, just get out and move on to the next one. So learning lesson. And that's, again, why I mentioned in the introduction of why we're keeping this price action and price position sizing just so low all across the board on all of these, because it's just an educational growing experience through all of these. So what is going on here? Alrighty, SOPA we got next. What an awesome move today. 240% we are showing at the close here for a percentage move. Green day we had 11 million floater. This is an e-commerce business in Asia that they have. News catalyst today was they were added to the Russell 2000, which is great. It's great. Downtrending daily, just bleeding death. Love to see it. In pre-market, at first glance, I kind of dissuaded this one and took it off. Just really wasn't interested in it. And then after pulling it up again, it was just like, it's decent. And it's back above VWAP. I could see this one doing something. I don't know what I want to do with it or how I want to trade it, but I could see this one just doing something or being interesting. And of course, it became very interesting very rapidly. But even at that, too, trying to predict, of course, that was a very nice move there as it's consolidating. Let's take away this as much as we can. Yeah, of how it was building, holding VWAP there, of getting a trade anywhere around this area, this 4.8, as it's building with volume there, producing 1 million volume in that candle before it halted at 5.2. Awesome, cool to see, but to recognize that and be a part of it. To have that visualization in your head beforehand and to be able to play off of that and then, trying to hold that type of trade all the way to $8 is get the F out of here with that. But regardless of that, as we got pretty parabolic and then that that first huge red candle started to come in, got experimental and educational with the short side of it. We had this $15 to $16 million candle here within this, it's probably even less than a minute. That it was open. Oh no, we had 6 minute here. Yeah, so within this 1 minute candle, that huge dollar volume. Love to see, obviously, the turnpike of this little parabolic move here. So starting in short, and of course it's paper. So whatever my entries and executions were, regardless, I was it. So trading in short here. And we do get this little tiny gap down to be a part of, or that I was a part of with that short. So that kind of threw me off a little bit because I'm expecting for this thing to just jump even more. For the percentage move, it was already up at that point, or at least come down a little bit. Give me like 6.75 at least. Come on, or start producing a little bit more volume to the downside. Start pressing harder there after it's open as well, which is just was not seeing. So covered a little bit into this first minute, second minute flush as we were just not seeing. I thought it was going to potentially start spiking against me, of course, and always being ready for that case too with these crazy volatile movers like that. But just continuing to hold, and then we do get another break to a new low here, this little regional low below $7 level, and then gets bought up very quickly and nicely. And I said, okay, that's enough for me. I'll get out with this last half of my little paper position here. And sure enough, that ended up rolling over to an even newer low here, and just holding until it perking to a new high of day from that. Wishy-washy, willy wonky, just kind of funky with that, but good educational experience of when the times these parabolic movers do produce that type of action, the AMCs, the GMEs, the CEIs, if they do go super parabolic and halty like that, good experience, good going through the reps that way too for me to be part of on that one, to experience that one. I found it very interesting, and I bet there's just some weird or easy to explain reason for this one, but the halts on the way up, 10 minutes, but the halts on the way down, 5 minutes. What does that mean? Like all these 4 or 5 we had on the way up, 9:35, 9:45, 9:46, 9:56, 9:56, 10:06. First halt down, 10:07, 10:13. 5 minutes. Doesn't make any sense. And then we get the next one here, 11. Red candle halts going from 11:35 to 11:40. Another 5-minute halter. What does that mean? Probably some easy explanation for that, but I just thought that was interesting and why that, if there's some specific reason for that. But did go through the process too of going through actual reserving of shares and not ludicrous borrow fees. They were pretty expensive, of course, for what this one was, but not ludicrous. So just going through those motions as well too, getting the reps in. And I wrote in my journal too, even like just trying to pick the top, trying to get short of that style of trade of, okay, wow, we got pretty ludicrous here at a top rejection, big wicky red candle for, okay, that could be a potential top there, but does end up spiking to a new high of day from there. And then you can say, okay, well, it didn't go crazy against me. It's still below this 12.5 area. I'll start in short here. We got a nice little volume exhaustion candle as well too, with a secondary one with kind of equivalent volume that could be a good base for potential getting short into, and pulls off nicely. It comes back down to like 10.5 here, nice little cover opportunity. But even at that too, trying to hold for any trade back to VWAP or slower price action, still get put in higher lows here and then new high of day after that. It is a yo-yo and look to get you every single time. It's just, I'm still looking for an easy way to make money in this market. And it's very, very simple. You just buy low, sell high. That's as simple as it can possibly be. Sell high, buy low. Yeah. But yet it is no way, shape, or form easy whatsoever. So this one will still be on the watch list for the next few days to see where we go in these secondary, tertiary days following this crazy move day here. But jeez. And for a trade grade on me, I'll give it a B grade for the idea of the trade, because it wasn't an A for the opportunity that was actually there on the chart that day, but the thesis was there. You're shorting into this parabolic move, and the exhaustion candle is obviously there to the downside. We get a nice halt on the sell, which is on the bid, pressure on the bid to sell that we halted into, and an execution on that point of recognizing, okay, it's not doing what I thought it was going to do, of just like nice and easy cover of potentially look for another dip to buy into covering, and then short a secondary top after that, penny stocking framework that way. But for what was given on the chart execution wise today, give myself an A grade for that. BFRI I'll get into. Kind of wrap through these. Same thesis for me as Friday of this multi-day holder. It did have that trade on Friday was very nice, but it did have a little bit of a sell-off into the close and into the after hours here, but it's still within that range, and it held the same thesis, just kind of like SEAC, kind of like the other one, BLU, I think was, but maybe not. SEAC especially we'll get into later as well, but the same thesis again. It's in this little cupish pattern, still in that multi-day range. This is a 5 million float biopharma. They do have, I got to be mindful of the BFRIW. They got like $10 million bucks left in warrants through that. So the outline for me going long on this one was going to be looking for a potential break above $8 as a minimum profit target if I was going to be getting long this thing, playing off of a base that was going to be a hard cut around 665-ish range here, which kind of looks a little better If we do, yeah, this little line around here, that volume profile building around there, knowing that if the trade was going to come to that point, and it was kind of convenient that that was the open price or little bottoming yesterday, the previous trading day on Friday as well too. But knowing that should the chart go there, that it was going to be looking to kind of be done at that point. And the price action to me in the morning, just right away in these first few minutes as we rejected VWAP, there we go. Rejected VWAP, or we opened under VWAP, tried to spike 2, reclaim, but then rejected through. I'm looking to get short, thinking I am now looking for the profit target of breaking low of day here. The trade thesis is breaking low of day, breaking that, looking for the profit target, obviously, of what looking for the stop target of how I was looking for long, around 665-ish, looking to start covering there and then play anything more of, if we wanted to pick up some more steam after that drop-off point for my risk level. But completely wrong on that trade thesis, 100% reversed against me, not 100%, but reversed immediately against me, went right back to VWAP, spiking to new high of days, forced to kind of cover, which was, again, a stupid cover where everybody and their grandma who was also short this thing was covering at new high of days there. That ends up kind of being almost the top day candle within that little range here. Just a buff, I want to say the B word, a botch, that's what I was going to say, of F on ideas, on both ideas. I was also looking to get long, thinking, okay, well, now we're holding above VWAP. It's got a few shorts in it left here. We could see some nice little action. I end up kind of buying right near the top and then ended up getting slapped down as we're breaking under VWAP again. So F grade for me on ideas on both sides of those, and just on a short thesis, F, because I was not, I did not factor that, and I just kind of like came up with that on the fly in my mind of like, oh, this looks nice, short it. And of course, pretty much 95% of the time I do that, I end up picking the exact top or the exact bottom for respectively short and long, of course. And then trade idea for, or execution grade I give for myself on the long, a D, because I was cutting losses quickly, or it was a little bit more substance to it. I was at least trading on something premeditated in the pre-market, but even at that too, it was just wrong. It just was incorrect. It wasn't there. You got to learn from it. AMC, I also traded, of course, the classic memer. Not much left to be said on this bad boy, but looking for, maybe I was a little bit persuaded by Bowen and pre-market prep, and then this was on his kind of weekly watch ticker as well too. And it is that holiday weekend, and AMC and GMEmers, they had that hard sell-off into this week, which is the assumption from that these tax loss harvesters are playing all of these non-producers and just saying, okay, we'll just cut profits here now, which is the reason why we dropped from 40 all the way to 25 within this little short period. But then looking to see, okay, it's Christmas kind of volatility week. Let's see if something happens here. We got VIX going nicely. Let's see if we can get some bidders back in to step this puppy up. And stupidly bought again. For grading on me on execution side for this trade, close to a failure, but I'm giving myself a D because of that's how I saved myself a little bit on buying this dip bottom, which was right around where it was going to be my risk level, and ended up being my risk level for this trade. But even at that too, as I look back on the trade thesis for this one I knew was going to had to be a multi-day hold for the trade. I've had to let this trade develop, let it get back to at least 33, at least to this little high here, 34. This one, the risk reward potential was going to be, we want to see this one back at $50, right? We want to see this one tapping $100 for the potential that could have been there. And we're starting in early, whereas I'm trading it and putting my risk levels as if it's this intraday volatility mover, when in the reality of the situation is it's not really dead until it like forces you and punches you in the mouth and says you're dead. And because it's the risk tolerance that's needed for these ones that I tried to factor in with CANF2 was compared to AMC, these just need so much more. And the scatterbrain that I was holding myself to on this one, and even as I review it, it's this is why I'm still on the paper side, and I'm still just trying to press these more and more, because these different type of stocks require different mentalities and paradigms of how long you're holding them and what positions when you're actually getting in on an entry. Because trying to scale in for a quick move here, which I thought was awesome, because like, oh, I got in here and now it's still moving higher. We're going to see some nice break of 35 here or 31 here. That's going to be a nice little move. And it was just stupidly wrong. I shouldn't have expected it or tried to force more from this stock than was actually there. And I didn't realize that really until it's too late. And even the stop that I had on there, didn't realize that it was very too slow, because it's still in this range. It's still range bound, kind of just hovering right under that $30 mark. It's not dead yet. Even not recognizing that until it was too late is unfortunate and needs to be learned. And this is why we need the reps through all the time in there. Dollar volume per trade average, which I just like as a little stat to keep an eye on. Today we're averaging like $8,200 per trade on average, whereas compared to Friday it was averaging under $5,000, like $4,900 per trade on average on that Friday. So whatever that means, or how that's being factored in or determined, or what that's ultimately saying, is I really don't know. But I just think it's interesting of how we're jumping $3,000, $3,200 on average per trade. Compared to a very nice percentage move day on that last week trading day Friday. Interesting stat. We'll keep an eye on it in these next few days here, but more and more to learn from that as well. Those are my traders on the day. I also want to talk about OCGN that I had in pre. The plan was looking at this one long and looking for breaks above $6. Downtrending daily, and then also kind of a former runner, of course. Formerly held a nice little consolidation range here for that move and run up higher. I did not see a news catalyst after hours for this initial Friday move, or why it was doing this, but failure on my part really to recognize the opportunity of this first green day short pattern that I love to tackle, of move that comes in after hours, whatever news catalyst or spike that happens before the actual full market close. And then you get to the pre-market of the next trading day, and it's just kind of downtrending still, bleeding, not a lot of volume coming in to push it. And it just continues to die off and bleed the whole rest of the market day. And that's not this to a T, but that is totally this pattern. And that's just how that slipped through the cracks and fell through my fingers to not recognize that sooner, especially within the hard dump right away out of the gate to the market open. VWAP attempts here that still fail, getting short anywhere around this area, risking this high day market open there. Would have been an easy little short and very, very probable trade, in my opinion, to still have potentially gotten long this one had it reversed against me and hadn't gotten me out. Still looking at this one, holding that bias as well, to looking at this one as a long versus, okay, I think, whoa, we're just projecting a lot lower, or projecting that thesis, that first green day short thesis that I've traded on a few times before. This is what I was looking at the chart for SPRB on Friday. SPRB just went stupid. But this is exactly the type of chart that I was looking to play off of that one. Kind of shame on myself for just what I was doing and still focusing on the other charts that didn't recognize that and open my eyes with the clean perspective to see and understand that from the get-go on this one. More learning lessons that way. Tough risk reward on that too, even like I mentioned of, okay, even if I do get stopped out short and it does start to spike against me and I look for that $6 push to the upside, it's a very high floater. They do have unlimited shelf capacity from a March thingy thing. American Biotech, we love to see it. A former runner, of course, as well too. Could have had the opportunity to squeeze, but just, there's so much going against it there too. And tough risk reward that way of just the price action it was putting in and showing, to think that, okay, if I try to get short here, do I really think it's going to drop within the time frame that appeases me, of trying to play it from like a 5-6 and looking for 5-1 within a morning session? It does, of course, end up eventually getting there, but it is a longer hold and allows for a lot more time to get in there, which is really the enemy in my eyes of being short in any of these. Is being short, you get in and get out. It's not necessarily a scalp, but it's just the more time you allow it to draw it out, the more time that some buyers can come in or just pull up this chart and go, oh, that's looking pretty nice. We'll give that a little buy. Or the consolidation time, I think Bowen has mentioned that a lot too. That consolidation of any price action used to be a very bearish signal, but all of a sudden in 2020, that consolidation became very, very bullish. So giving these things time to draw out and collect more eyeballs is definitely kind of dangerous when you're on the short side that way too. So that's why this one doesn't necessarily fall into an A+ category setup for what I viewed as that first green day short pattern of spike in after hours of a trading day. Then that next pre-market, it does this very nice price action where it's just kind of bleeding, lack of volume, not really showing any signs of awesomeness, wickedness, or volatility that way, and then just continues to do the same thing, follow along that same pattern the rest of market hours for a nice little easy sit as a trade. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. I'll mention last year's SEAC and then GRTX, a little bit of a mention, but SEAC, I came into this one, the market today too, still thinking the same thing. I got stopped out on Friday, last week trading day Friday, looking for that continued multi-day hold here that we're still in. This intradaily is just so nice. And still today too, Mark Crook and Art of War, heavily bearish on this one, looking for this offering, just waiting for this offering to dump the price of the stock. After the initial news, of course, for that first green day run-up was that potential merger for Triller, that competitor to TikTok. But even at that too, it's just got to respect price action. It's not crazy. It's 41 million floater, kind of a former runner. They do have some shelves out there, 200 million shelf from February. A little bit of a former runner on these days, but respect the price. And if this news is that same thing again, give that consolidation. It usually was supposed to be bearish, and to say, okay, this thing's going to eventually, it's testing lows here continually over and over again. If you give it enough time, it's eventually going to break through there and just drop and be a nice short. Whereas now in this kind of market, if it's continuing to hold there, that frustration, that annoyance, emotion starts to come into play, and these things can start to pick up a little bit of steam. So that was the whole thesis I was coming in with today, and just the morning session did not allow for it. And what is going on with this little scale here? Okay, so that's what I was looking for within this morning session here, and it was just not looking awesome, and is continuing to press on these lows here in this 1.5 area, this $0.50 level area. Became very key, and it didn't want to hold there technically precisely at 1.5, but it did the same thing on that Friday too, and that's what stopped me out, as I thought it was going to respect it a little bit better, and maybe shoulda, coulda, woulda given it a little bit more allowance there, but it's just those little fake out little wiki candles that just can get you. But it respected that very well 4 times to today, 148 level here, and then eventually did get volume pretty much perfectly midday for a nice little push, and then pull back into another VWAP hold, cupish pattern there. Lots of little trade opportunities along the way on that, and then moving very nicely into the after hours close here. So what it does in the next few days, I think we'll have to let it play out and see what it wants to do, because it is, unless it is a pattern like this of playing off of a just quick move like that, or just looking for a recognizable chart pattern on this type of price action where it does respect, it just goes in blocks a little bit more, respecting 185 and goes to 186, and then you know what I'm referencing, of just kind of a little bit of choppier, a little bit less volume on the days too, that it does take a little bit more, kind of reminiscent of CEI almost, that it just is a little bit more blocky of how it trades. And it's tough for other type of patterns compared to the pattern like this today of a multi-day hold on these types of charts to play that way versus playing for this type of pattern today too. And then GRTX, yeah, just a quick mention of kind of the same thing of this multi-day holder. Very nice move in pre today, that I should have been trading this one long on that same day, Friday. What is going on with my black screen today? But this multi-day hold here should have been long bias on that Friday, like I mentioned in that daily trading recap. But pre-market moving very nicely today, continuing to push higher and higher, and we do eventually get this nice little volume push in pre that even there produces a nice little profit opportunity, pulls back a little bit to market open, and then first half hour of market open just range bound, wicking both ways, a little bit of a wider range there, but does eventually find some volume to push this thing to show you, okay, this is where our trend's going to be. And that would have been a nice little hold, not perfect, not beautiful, but even holding through there, and still as it's putting in some higher lows here for this little trend upward. Not even a bull flag, just more of extended, but putting in a higher trapezoidal little shape that I'm seeing at that point, and then even eventually goes all the way to 4.7 from there. Nice little chart on the day. Those are the charts I wanted to mention. Watch list, I got a lot, but I just want to mention like GNFT, second day mover today, very, very lackluster volume compared to that first green day move. I'm really looking at this one short, just thinking it was because they had the news today. This is that 43 million floater, American Biotech. I didn't really find any news catalyst for that first green day, but I think today H.C. Wainwright announced a new price target of $8. Go get them, baby. So attracting those stupid little degenerate longs, and maybe dump it tomorrow. I could see it playing off of especially that third day dump rather than a third day surge type of pattern that we've been seeing play out a few more times these past few trading weeks. So looking potentially short on this one, risking anywhere we might have to end up doing that $6 whole dollar level area range as a risk target if we start to if this little lackluster volume begins to continue to hold around 5.8-ish area, 5.9-ish. But I could see that one as a potential bag holder trip because nobody was really hard pressed to be selling today. You know, maybe in this little morning session where there's a little bit of volume and a little bit of sell-off right at the gate, but nobody was hard pressed the rest of the day to be forced to sell their hands there. So we could be seeing that tomorrow because today was that kind of rest day, even though price started trending a little bit higher, closing 11% in the green today. Keeping our eye on that one. AABB, nice OTC boy. This one may just be a little bit of a watch. I've kind of been taking a break away from the OTCs because of that. It's just tough with that OTC fee of when I want to trade the smaller position size, just how it eats into you more and more like that. But very nice little multi-day hold here. Call it a little first green day move maybe, or reversal. But nice technical levels to continue to get through here for the close that it did have today. Where it was closing today, excuse me. And then we can obviously break through. We just broke through today this little 20-ish range. And then as we're closing here, this 23, we do have, call it a little 24-ish bound resistance there. I can see a lot on these little marks here on the past daily as well too from the start of the year. And of course we have that 25-cent level area, and then we can get through lots of technical levels to the upside as potential resistance to start accumulating through as a snowball effect to get this thing just full Blue Origin rocket ship mode to the upside there. So that may be a watch, and looking especially for like this one produced today. Nice little VWAP hold, afternoon style of trade. Looking for volume confirmation and overall price action confirmation, just like in every trade itself. ACAD mentioning as well too. Oh, already filled. Well, there's my answer. This was the mirroring off of that. What was it? The OCGN of that first green day short. We would get the spike in after hours off of some bogus, stupid news catalyst. Did have this little rising daily, which would have turned me off a little bit because I just don't like to see any amount of volume or price action to the upside coming in this one. I don't want any hope being put in those longs' hands. I just want death. I just want any opportunity that this thing is spiking to be thought of as there's my opportunity to sell, right? Versus, okay, we're in this uptrend now. We could get some more price action to continue after, and that continues the bag holderness of these style of charts. Versus this one today too, where there's your trade, and that's, you know, the thesis was there of, okay, maybe I should actually get short this one and put that trade thesis put that trade thesis into practice, especially too because that's eliminating the PDT, that day trade rule. I'm saving a day trade with that while I'm still under PDT for the meantime. But gosh, that was pretty beautiful price action that just completely rejected after that consolidation. Very interesting to see. I don't think I've seen one fall that hard that quick after a move like that in after hours, but add it to the books, add it to the lesson bank to learn from as opportunities of these charts to do that. And then BLU, the same thing of the same mentality as SEAC, that of, gosh, it's still in this multi-day hold. It's call it a little bit of a downtrend, but it's not dead. It's just not completely dying off. So the bias is there for me to pull out the Mark Crook and Art of War to say, oh, this thing's got to be a short. It's just going to be so nice to just let it die and just bleed off. And I even want to kind of use an ISIG today as an example of what these potential multi-day holders could end up doing. And that's probably what the Mark Crook and the Art of Wars were basing their trades off as well too. And this one's a little bit different because of having to hold through those crazy little spikes here and there for the sub-million floater that this one is. But using that as a potential model for the market sentiment for these multi-day holds, because these charts are very different companies themselves and tickers, sectors, floats that way of overhead. But even the same thing, it's if they do start to resemble the same types of things, it's pattern overall that I feel can win at times as compared to what necessarily fundamentals or technical analysis or fundamental analysis overall can really bear down on these things. It is the market sentiment says what goes and what doesn't go that way. So not holding any bias on this one specifically going into tomorrow, but maybe leaning a little bit towards short if the volume does start to press this thing hard, or maybe it just becomes another just stupid sideways day that waste my mental capital that way. We'll be in for it. That is all I want to mention for this, again, very long video. There's so much talking every single day, but I continue to love it. Just continuing to grow in that knowledge P&L while we're just saving ourselves the actual P&L in the meantime. I think we're going to continue to just let the lessons develop as the opportunities come, because it's still so in my mind's eye of trying to just tackle all of those problems at once, where I view looking at the right charts as one specific product of improvement, and just being in the right trades of picking the top on a short or picking the bottom on a dip and rip, or that is one characteristic in itself of being a trader. And then factoring in, okay, now we can go to the next step, and the next characteristic, the next learning tool of, okay, now position sizing. Okay, now what are our risk reward potentials here, and what's that factored into our account size? What are we willing to take on as risk? That's the next step, and you can go on there from there. From how many different factors you can develop in that as a trader booklet or pamphlet, but I've really got to focus myself and hold myself down to, because trying to focus on all of those at once and just put those all on my plate just has not been working. And it's, for some reason, still what we're looking at right now is not up to par for what I want to be seeing, because it's very easy to just scale up to say for what little small position trades that I'm taking now. It's very easy to just put more money back in the account and then just put a bigger number in my order window and do the exact same thing. That's not a big step. But the bigger step for me right now we still need to be tackling is, what are we doing? First off, right? Why are we getting in the trade? Or what's the reason for getting out of the trade that way? Just all those factors that way. So that is still the big main focus here until the end of the year for sure. And still, of course, I'm going to get this hair. Still going to be looking for that hard into the next year as well too. And just, it's a marathon, not a sprint. I'm not going to be a millionaire tomorrow. It's just a process, and that's how I have to continue to look at it, and it's day by day, every single day, in and out. That's what I got to hold myself to. I sincerely thank you guys for watching. We will catch you guys on the next one.